I want to start this video by saying I believe in God. I believe he put all of us humans, animals on this earth, and let us be. Let us choose our own paths, who we want to be, what we want to do in life, be it a carpenter, a firefighter, a nurse, maybe a philanthropist. And what I'm doing with the sweet, precious time I have on this earth is making it my goal to spread as much obscure gorilla information as possible. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm tackling a topic that I would have tackled eventually, so why not just do it today? That being the very odd and weird sexual world of the gorilla. I'm tackling this. I'm looking at all of it. Before I get into this is supposed to be the 1,000 subscriber special video. I don't know if I hit 1,000 subs by the time of this video, but if I did, I want to seriously thank all of you for the support and genuinely say thank you for getting me to 1,000 subscribers. It may not seem like a lot, but I appreciate it nonetheless. But with that, let's get into the sex life of the gorilla. And yes, I'm talking about all of it. All of it. You hear me? Let's do this. Okay, alright. Where to start? It's like eating a rack of ribs, you just gotta dive in and grab a bone. So let's start with the basic stuff. Gorillas reach sexual maturity roughly pretty early in their life. For females, they reach sexual maturity at the age of 7 to 10 years old, but likely don't start mating until 10 to 12 years old. But for the males, it's a little different. Males don't reach sexual maturity until they reach the ages of 11 or 12 years old. However, they don't start mating until they're 15 to 20, as that's the age to become a true silverback gorilla. So gorillas normally operate in polyamorous relationships, meaning one male or one female with multiple different mates. But in the gorilla's case, it's one dominant silverback, usually done off by fighting other silverbacks off to get a harem with multiple females for mating. And the way these groups form is a group of male gorillas from a group called bachelor groups, where they live together at a young age for multiple years until one by one they find a group of females to start their own harem and their own family. And despite how a lot of animals operate, in gorilla families, majority of the time the female initiates the sexual contact with the silverback. Meaning, when mating time happens, the female chooses what male she wants to do mating with. And this spans for both species of gorillas, eastern and western gorillas, making gorillas in the same case as bonobos as the least sexually violent apes. And how might they do this? By fixing their canthal tilt, maybe gesture maxing to attract a male? I have no idea what those words mean, I just keep seeing them because they keep popping up on my feed. But no, they don't do that at all. A female might do a variety of things, like making direct eye contact, puckering the lips, or, just presenting themselves in a way as for sex. And interestingly enough, female gorillas have been seen to initiate sex even when they're not in heat. They just want to do it. Well, not really. They do it to increase the bond between the two and prevent the silverback to mate with other females and genuinely create a relationship with the gorilla. So then the female can guarantee to be the main mater. I don't even know if that's even a word. In some cases, the male gorilla will actually refuse the sexual advances, causing the female to find another male to mate with. And although most gorilla families consist of one dominant male with multiple females, sometimes a group can have multiple silverbacks, where those multiple silverbacks have multiple female mates. It is rare, but it has been shown to happen in both gorilla species. But it is more likely to happen in mountain gorillas, a subspecies of the eastern gorilla, mainly because mountain gorillas live in larger groups compared to western lowland gorillas, which live in smaller groups. But it can happen in western lowland groups, but just not as common as the mountain gorillas. And something that can actually happen in these gorilla groups is a sneaky male gorilla who recently just sexually matured called blackbacks. Their age is between a juvenile and a silverback, but they may try to mate with the females when the silverback is distracted. And this strategy is somewhat successful. As one study on gorillas states, up to 15% of gorilla babies aren't fathered by silverbacks and are fathered by blackbacks. So a silverback might be thinking he's raising his own child, but in reality, it's the blackback's baby. And yes, this is a cuckold. Yes, cuckolding in some way or another is a part of gorillas and their mating. You gotta be a strong spirit to be a silverback, I tell you. It's tough out there. But how about the male gorilla? How do they initiate sex? While male gorillas initiating sex is more uncommon, if they have an opportunity to do it, they might do a few things similar to the females, such as doing grunts, nudges towards the female asking to mate, and if the female rejects the gorilla might just accept it and move on, but sometimes they might try something else. Hey, yo, look out down below. Here he comes, banana slam So before I start talking about the section, I want to reiterate, animals do not have the same consciousness as humans. They operate in a world of mating for survival and not for pure pleasure and wants. Essentially, animals don't know what they're doing is wrong. So, if a gorilla initiates sexual contact with the female and she refuses, the gorilla will use a strategy called sexual coercion. As you can see in my other video, chimpanzees did this as well. Sexual coercion is using threats, manipulation, or intimidation to get sex from someone. And sometimes the gorilla will use this strategy. Although it's not their main way of mating, it does happen and isn't completely rare to happen. Gorillas do this by banging their chest, roaring at them, and bluff charging. And another thing that could happen with silverback gorillas that they might do is if they're in a group with a child they didn't father, they may kill the child so the female can be fertile again and want to mate some more. And yes, that is very rare to happen, but it does happen. And I will say sexual coercion, way more likely to happen when there are multiple silverbacks in the group, or there is a nearby family with a very dominant silverback. Now, when I said I'm talking about everything, I'm talking about everything. If a female gorilla still refuses, the silverback might use physical attacks, such as biting, hitting, and wrestling. This usually escalates in the female just doing it, but if the female fights back, a silverback may back off from the sexual advances. But most of the time, the sexual coercion works for the silverback. But I want to reiterate, this isn't grape. What it's doing is illegal in the human world for good reason, but it isn't grape. But since we are here, let's just talk about this. So like every animal, grape can happen. So although gorilla's main way of mating is females selecting the male, and the next common way is sexual coercion, in extremely rare instances, a silverback may grape a female to reproduce. Some people have different ways of describing grape, but in this instance, it's a gorilla. How do I say this without getting kicked off the internet? A gorilla may use force and, pin them down and do the deed. I'll put something comedic in the background to lighten the mood up because this is very uncomfortable, but it can happen. But don't get it twisted. This is not a part of gorilla culture at all and is extremely rare to happen. For example, it's like the Browns winning the Super Bowl in your lifetime. Is it possible? Sure. Is it going to happen? Hell no. It ain't going to happen. And again, these are animals and they don't know what they're doing is evil. It's just instincts. We can't hold them to the same as human standards. Also, just to ruin your day, the main way orangutans mate is forced. The main way chimps mate is sexual coercion. And all these animals are extremely sexually violent. Otters, lions, spiders, praying mantises, certain species of mouses, seals, ducks, and dolphins are all very, very sexually violent. Gorillas can be sexually violent, but when compared to the animal kingdom, they are actually in the lower level of the totem pole of most animals. So now that we're done talking about sexual violence, let's get on to more of the weird stuff. So instead of that stuff, let's talk about gorillas' members. Now the average gorilla penis is 1.25 inches. And when erected, it is 2 to 2.5 inches. And large penises for a gorilla is roughly 3 inches. It doesn't get bigger than that. Literally, there is no record of any gorilla penis getting more than 3 inches. 3.00000 is the max. No better. I hope this boosts the confidence of many of you watching this. And of course, their balls are tiny as well. And this is going to sound very, very weird, but I couldn't find an image of any of them on the internet. They're just that small. I'm weird. I know this. But seriously, I couldn't find a single image of them. Gorillas actually have one of the smallest penises to body size of any animal in the world. What is my life? And if you're wondering, you sick freak, why they're small, well, it's likely due to how gorilla families work. Most families only have one silverback, so there's no competitors. So their penis doesn't need to be big. It just needs to work. And females don't care about the size, they just care about who is the dominant alpha silverback in their family. That attracts females for mating the most. But how about the positions? The most common position gorillas mate in is through the rear, with the female on the ground, on her elbows, and the gorilla mounting, doggy style. They're classy like that. Sex usually only lasts about 30 seconds to 1 minute and is mostly very awkward and quiet, but sometimes the silverback may scream while doing it. Although it has been observed that it could last up to 20 minutes, but that is way more unlikely to happen. Another common position they might do is missionary, with the male on top.
We're talking missionary. We're talking missionary. We're talking when I'm on top and she's on her back.
And sometimes the female might be on top of the male, or they might be both sitting up, staring at each other like this. I don't know. Different way of doing things. And sometimes, though rare, as most things I've mentioned with the gorilla, a gorilla might dabble in sex from the rear end. But of course, not mating, more to create more bonding experience with the female and the silverback gorilla. But what is common with gorillas is actually oral sex. Again, this is for more social bonds and actually some pleasures. Gorillas have been observed with female gorillas where they are eating out, carpet munching, eat the box, getting your gib on, cunnilingus, an Australian kiss, yodeling in the canyon. Okay, I'm done. Going south of the border. Who are we to judge how two gorilla lovers get closer with their relationship? Let them be. They're happy, damn it. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any documentation of them eating each other's cake, but I'm sure that's happened at least once. But honestly, they have the flattest asses I've ever seen on an animal. I don't think it's even possible. And if you're wondering if gorillas ever engaged in oral sex the other way with the female in charge, it's 1.5 inches. It's too damn small. How would that work? You think pigs fly? You think gorillas give him BJs? You crazy? This guy. This freaking guy. But what's something gorillas do, starting with the males, is they do engage in homosexual behavior. Remember when I mentioned the group of silverbacks who live in a bachelor group on their own? Well, it's actually somewhat common they may just have sex. The dominant silverback will go to one of the younger silverbacks or blackbacks and ask for sex, as if they would with a female, and just do it. So mounting and humping. Yeah, they'll do that. And sometimes it might include penetration. And this can happen in gorilla families when the females are around as well, but it's way more unlikely. And this is done to relieve tension in the group, or the big silverback just wants to establish dominance.
Bro, I swear I'm not gay. I'm just establishing dominance. We're just bonding. God, there's nothing gay about it.
But males aren't the only ones to engage in homosexual activities, but also the females as well. Specifically when females are ovulating or in heat, or sometimes when there's sexual frustrations from not being able to mate with the silverback. And they'll do the same as the male gorillas. Straight up mounting front or back, and they may just have oral sex, female on female. You know, like muff diving, dining at the Y, or eating But as I keep talking about gorillas and their strange sexual life, compared to other great apes and the general world of the animal kingdom, as a whole, gorillas are some of the least sexually active animals you will find. After a female gorilla gives birth, it takes them roughly 4 to 6 years to breed again and have another baby. Comparing that to a human, you can become pregnant a month after giving birth. So imagine a gorilla who roughly lives half the life of a human and can only give birth every 5 years. Female gorillas roughly stopping fertile in their late 30s and don't reach sexual maturity to 8 to 10 years old. But most of the time they don't give birth till about 11 or 12. So just doing a quick calculation, if a female wild gorilla is lucky to live into her late 30s, the best case scenario is she gives birth to 5 or maybe 6 babies at the best case scenario. And yes, twins can happen, but it is very rare and is even less likely to happen than humans. And humans already have a very unlikely chance of having twins. And for them to give birth also takes them roughly around the same amount of time as humans. For gorillas, it's 8.5 months just to give birth. And yes, this is a huge reason why gorillas have such low populations, and why it's rather important that gorillas should be protected. With being poached and the low populations due to low fertility rates with females makes things much more difficult for gorillas as a whole. I would say one positive with gorillas breeding is that there's no mating season. It can happen anytime, which generally makes it easier for the animals to breed as a whole. Now, with the male gorillas, that's a different story. This is why they have a harem. Since females can only mate every 5 years, the male gorillas have multiple females to mate with, creating more offsprings as a whole. In fact, after females give birth and take care of their child for about 2 to 3 years, sometimes the female gorilla may leave the group just to avoid inbreeding. However, inbreeding does occur sometimes, and when that happens, you can get some weird results. For example, the western lowland silverback gorilla, Snowflake, the only known albino gorilla, pink skin with white fur, a truly unique gorilla. But this was likely caused due to inbreeding, as it was revealed that his parents were an uncle to his niece, making them one step away from being father and daughter. Again, this is not the norm, but sometimes it leaves gorillas no choice if mating is scarce, causing such cases to happen. But this doesn't just fall into female gorillas, it also falls into silverback as well. Silverback gorillas, when comparing to other animals and apes, have a very low libido or sex drive in general. And a part of that is partially comes from their testosterone levels. Their testosterone levels are pretty high, but when compared to many other animals, their testosterone isn't that crazy. Not the main reason, but they aren't needed to be that high considering how family structured the gorillas are with the harem style. But there are so many animals with higher libidos than gorillas, like tigers, hyenas, cats, dogs, often humans, stag beetles, horseshoe crabs. Literally thousands of animals in the animal kingdom have a higher libido than silverback gorillas in general. Gorillas aren't a very horny animal in the animal kingdom. Gorilla lives, if you guessed it, are pretty boring. If you aren't being hunted, they spend most of their day just sitting, eating plants, and just living. They don't have much sex, they play sometimes, and they're incredibly lazy. Gorillas, like most animals, have a very complex way of mating that differs than us humans, but it is rather a trait of them that makes them very unique. Sure, mating using a harem style isn't the most effective way for mating, but it works for them, so who are we to judge? And yes, this is a very weird video. If you've watched most of my videos, you should not be surprised this is what I'm diving into. This was coming eventually. But hey, you get to learn about the size of their tiny cock and balls, and how hierarchy works and who gets the mate, and how sexual violence can occur with gorillas, and how homosexuality isn't that uncommon with male or female gorillas. But that's all I have to say about gorilla sex lives. I think I got mostly all of it. There's only one thing left to do. Watch some actual videos. This is my gift to all of you. Thank you for watching the video. Now sit back and relax and enjoy some absolute cinema. And that is my video for today, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed this one. I'm recording this a different day than I record everything else. I don't think I'm going to reach 1,000 subscribers by the time this video comes out, but I'll be pretty close to then. So just consider this a gift in advance to everyone. Thank you so much for getting me to this milestone. I truly and greatly appreciate it. It is awesome I got this far. It may not seem like a lot to you guys, but it means a lot to me. So thank you, genuinely. But that's it for me today. Have a great day. Have a great night. Have a great evening, whatever time zone you're watching this in. And I'll see you in the next one. See ya.